goats have eaten their fill of our first pasture, so we need to fence off a second one for them. This week on Barely Homesteading. So this is that first pasture that we fenced off earlier this year. It's about half an acre. And supposedly half an acre will feed 4 to 5 animals for a year, and our 2 goats ate this thing bare pretty much in about 4 months. Now, it's been a fairly dry season this year, and so there wasn't a lot of growth after we put them in, which is probably why they've eaten through it so quickly. But we need to fence off another area for them because they need to get fat before winter. Get some fat on them and insulation. So we're going to fence off this area next to the pasture today. Lots of tall, lush grass, plenty for them to eat. All right, so this pasture is going to be essentially a triangle that butts up against the previous pasture. We're here in the corner of the triangle. I've got the H-brace in for this side of the corner. We'll have to put another one in, going the other direction, because it's not a 90-degree angle here. And we're going to do this side first. So let's get that done. All right, so we've got all the posts in on this side. We're going to take a break for lunch, do the other side, and then we'll start stringing. Okay, so we've got the posts in on this side now, and for those that are got a keen eye, you can probably see that the posts kind of meander a little bit, and that was actually done on purpose. We've got a culvert over here on the left-hand side of your screen, and we wanted the fence line to go along that culvert, and so it's kind of meandering back and forth a little bit as the culvert does. And that's going to maximize the area in here. Also, we were concerned about getting a low spot under the fence that the goats could get under. And so we kind of meandered the fence line to keep the ground somewhat in an even slope down along the fence line, so we didn't have a big low spot somewhere. So as I said, that's on purpose. As we stretch the barbed wire on here, I'm hoping everything's going to work out okay. There's not too much of a back and forth, but if we stretch it too hard, it could cause a problem. So we're going to be careful when we do that. And that's the next task, is to start running the barbed wire. So I got jabbed pretty good with one of the barbs as we were putting on the wire retainers. Should always wear gloves when doing this, but it's sure hard to manipulate those retainers with your gloves on. Okay, so we didn't quite make it all the way on that third strand. Gonna have to pick up some more barbed wire, but at least I know how much I need to pick up. And so now we're gonna set out some isolators for the electric fencing. So again, we'll know if we need to pick up some more. We can do that at the same time we pick up the barbed wire. So we've been having problems with the goats going back and forth between the two pastures. And we really want them to stay in this pasture so they eat this tall grass down, and give this pasture, where they've already eaten it pretty much all the way to the ground, a chance to come back. And I couldn't quite figure out where they were crossing until today. I saw them do it right here. You see that lower strand of barbed wire? It's about 8 inches, maybe 10 inches from the ground, and they went under it no problem. Now you would think that a couple of goats that size would not be able to get under a 10-inch piece of or a 10-inch high barbed wire, but they didn't have any problem doing it. So that's hopefully the only place they've been going back and forth, and I can just adjust the barbed wire down a little bit and solve that issue. Okay, so we want to give you an update on the goats and their new pasture. New pasture has been working out pretty well. Unfortunately, we fenced it off a little bit later in the season, and so the grass was already starting to die off, and the goats haven't really been too thrilled because there hasn't been a lot of green, and they've kind of had to dig down through the taller dead stuff to get to what little green there is. In addition, it's definitely starting to get to winter. We had an ice storm yesterday and gave us some freezing temperatures. You can still see some of the ice and frost on the ground, and we've still been working with the county to get our building envelope removed. 3 months later, we still haven't gotten it done. So we've had to change our plans a little bit as far as housing and protecting the goats through the winter. So this is our temporary goat shelter. This is a window well, a large window well that we have turned over on its side and have put a piece of pressure treated plywood on the back, and it gives them quite a pretty nice little shelter. It's a little shallow, it's a little short, but that helps them keep the heat in a little bit more, and it protected them pretty well from the ice storm yesterday. I put a bale of hay in front of it to try to block some of the wind, and they just ate the bale of hay. So have to think about how to maybe protect the front a little bit more, maybe put another plywood board across half of it, just to give them a little more protection. Now, as I mentioned, we fenced off this new pasture because they had eaten the old one basically down to the ground. And since the grass had already starting to dry out, the goats haven't been super thrilled with this new pasture, and so they have been going underneath the fence, the dividing fence between the two pastures, to get back to their old pasture and eat what little green they could find over there. And when that wasn't enough for them, they started going under the fence and getting out, which is a major problem. I don't care so much if they're going between the two pastures, but getting out and getting onto the main road here could cause an accident and cause us a lot of problems. So today we are going to be redoing the fence in this new pasture to hopefully keep them from going underneath. Now, original plan, and I did this actually, was to lower the lowest line of electric fence, and they are still getting out. And I can't lower it anymore because if we get a lot of snow, like we're supposed to tomorrow, we're supposed to get 9 inches tomorrow, it's going to short out the electric fence, and then it's going to be just basically a free-for-all for the goats getting in and out. So we're going to be redoing the fence today. Hopefully I can get this whole new pasture fenced off with the new fencing system and keep them in so that they stay safe. Alright, so the current configuration of our fence is we have 4 strands of barbed wire, and the first one is about 8 to 10 inches from the ground, and then they go up about every 10 to 12 inches above that. Then in between the strands of the barbed wire, we have electrical lines. So we have 3 electrical lines, and that first electrical line is about 15 inches from the ground. Again, we didn't want to go any lower because we didn't want it to short out in a big snowstorm. And even though those goats are pretty big, they get under this lower strand of of barbed wire fairly easily. So what we're going to do, we're going to take off the lower 3 strands of barbed wire, the lower 2 strands of electrical wire, and we're going to replace it with some regular fencing. This is 12 gauge fencing. It's not welded wire, it's actually wrap joint, and I'm hoping that that's going to be stiff enough that the goats won't be able to get under it. And to help ensure that, we're going to actually stake down between the posts this new fencing so that it can't move too much and they can't get under it. Then once we have this fencing in, we're going to come back and replace the electrical lines so that we still have electrical lines starting about 15 inches from the ground and then going up every 10 inches, because we need the electrical lines to keep the goats from climbing this fencing and to keep the predators out. Okay, goat fencing, let's see, this would be version 4.0 is done, and as you can see, we've got the wire, the braided wire fencing up 3 feet approximately, and then we've got some electric wire above that with some barbed wire, and that goes all the way around this pasture. So hopefully this will keep them in. As I've said earlier, we've been having a lot of problems with them getting out and getting up onto this busy road up here, which is a big problem. So we're hopeful that this will keep them in and keep them safe. If not, they may have to graduate to the freezer. Now that we've got the fence upgraded to hopefully keep those little troublemakers in, the next issue we have with winter coming for the goats is keeping their water thawed. We've got a big trough down there and we've been able to keep it full of water all summer and fall, but now with winter coming and freezing temperatures, we've got to keep it thawed. And we don't currently have power down there, which is a problem, and so that's what we're going to try to take care of now. I have here 250 feet of 10-2 outdoor conductor, and essentially what we're going to do is we're going to make a great big long extension cord out of this to get us through the winter, and then next spring or summer when we get around to it, we'll bury this and put an outlet down the hill so that we'll have power down there. Alright, so we've got the conductor strung. As I said, next spring or summer we're going to bury it. We're going to finish putting in these stairs right here. We're going to bury this line right next to the stairs so it's less likely to get hit in the future if we're doing some work. And of course, where it crosses the path, we'll put in some PVC or something to help protect it, help shield it. Okay, we got the wire run for the heater for the goat's water. It ended up being about 600 feet. So we did 2 rolls, 250 foot rolls of the 10 gauge 2 conductor outdoor wire, and then we did a couple of extension cords here to get us the last of the way, and we've kind of draped it up into the fence to keep it out of the snow and the connections. But we now have power down here at the goat pasture, and it is working just fine. Got the heater in there, and the goats have stayed in their pasture all day. Haven't tried to get out. So it looks like we have hopefully fixed the escape artist issue with the goats. They've been they've been troublemakers getting out. But now with the water heater down here, and we brought down their hay feeder and their temporary shelter, and with the fence fixed, I think we are now ready for winter for the goats, at least this winter. Hopefully we'll be able to be more prepared next winter, but I think we're doing pretty good. So for Barely Homesteading, this is Lumberjack and Charcoal and Oreo saying thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we will talk to you next time.